When the Switch first launched, Nintendo CEO at the time, Jeremy Gameboy, said that he wanted it to have a 10-year life cycle, and to be honest, we all had a hearty laugh at the time, cause the thing was underpowered as hell then, let alone years later. However, 6 years and over 110 million consoles later, the thing's still got plenty of momentum, but with all their biggest IPs already having ripped butt by this point, what's even left for Nintendo to do for this console? Well, at least 1 year's worth of stuff as fate would have it, and if you give me a couple minutes, I'll tell you all about it, going from highly likely to moderately likely to not very likely, and of course everybody's favorite, the wild cards. Alright, so we already know that Tears of the Kingdom's pretty much the Switch's poster child for 2023, and there's also a new Fire Emblem game popping up in January, even though I completely forgot about it somehow, despite being a big fan of these games. So instead of rambling about that, I'm gonna go over the games the Switch can, will, or won't pull out of its ass during its 6th year, starting from April of 2023, going all the way to March of 2024. And yeah, I know the Switch is underpowered, like as all hell. Like, incredibly insanely underpowered, sure, but there's still plenty left it could accomplish until Nintendo's ready to put an upgrade out, with the most likely game being, well, a pair of new Pokemon games of some kind. I know a lot of you probably think it's too soon for new Pokemon games given the whole Scarlet and Violet fiasco, but ever since the Switch launched, there's been a new Pokemon game every single November except for 2020 thanks to that meddling PBR virus, and even more Pokemon games beyond that for good measure. So if you're some kind of a mathematician or whiz kid, then I can't see how your money wouldn't be on another pair of Pokemon games coming out in November, and if I had to guess, which I do, then I'd say that it'll probably be another pair of Let's Go games, with the Gold and Silver being the templates. I'd go into it a little more, but I already made an entire video on it. Now let's not forget about the Advance Wars remake that's already finished. This game was never meant to be a larger scale release or anything like that, but since this game's about war, Nintendo decided to pull it due to real life business going down. This didn't necessarily bother me or anything like that, seeing as I have countless games in my backlog that have never even opened, but I do think this was a bit of an odd choice for Nintendo to make. Like, Advance Wars isn't exactly Call of Duty, but you know what is? Call of friggin' Duty, and it came out in 2022. And you know what?
See, nobody cares.
Hey, look at Advance Wars, it's cartoonish as all hell. The most graphic thing about the game is the second half of its name. I don't know, if you ask me, these games are either always okay or never okay, especially since they're so lighthearted, but seeing as how this compilation's already done and the Switch is pretty late into the marathon at this point, I feel like this one could be a good cup of water for it, so I'd lean towards it happening in 2023. Then of course there's two other big boys that we already know Nintendo's got in the chamber with Metroid Prime 4 and Pikmin 4, we just don't know exactly when these are coming out is all. Pikmin 4 has been a game that everybody kind of figured was happening, but due to the fact that it wasn't confirmed until 2022, there have been plenty of paranoia-based riots and public pantsings over the years. Even that poor little game, Hey Pikmin, got duped all over because people thought that it was hindering the fourth game's development for some dumb reason. Nintendo already said Pikmin 4 is going to be a 2023 game, but since they've been known to delay games like it's nobody's business, even though it is, I still think that we're probably going to get this one by March of 2024 at the absolute latest. Given the development hell Metroid Prime 4's been through, though, it still might be a little too soon, which is just as hilarious as it is sad. I mean, they announced in January of 2022 that the game had to be completely scrapped and restarted with better people involved this time. Pretty sad for a game that was initially revealed in 2017, and I know 2 years seems impossible if they literally scrapped every last aspect of the game, but I'm really not sure how literally we're supposed to take that statement. Maybe the above average sized den was being completely honest, maybe they were trying to trick us into thinking the game took less time than it really did, I have no idea. Either way, I'm sure at the absolute least they know what they want the game to be, and with the original developers involved, I'd lean towards there being a pretty good chance that this game could be out by March of 2024, as opposed to putting it in the 50-50 category though, unless it really is cursed anyway. In that case, this game's not coming out till like 2087. Speaking of the 50-50 category though, let's keep things trucking along with even more Metroid in the Metroid Prime Trilogy. Yeah, this thing's been rumored pretty much since the Switch first came out, with some people even going as far as to say that the game's been done for years. I used to be really skeptical of this since there were a lot of times where the Switch really could have used the help, but now that we've gotten the Mario compilation with Galaxy's Wii remote controls reconfigured to work with the Joy-Con, I can totally see the Metroid Prime Trilogy being a thing. And if it is a thing, then the absolute best possible time to put it out would be about 6 months before Metroid Prime 4 to get people excited for it. And my prediction's right about Metroid Prime 4 being a March 2024 game, then I wouldn't be surprised to see the Trilogy as a September game, but maybe I'm getting a little too specific here. And as if that's not enough Metroid though, Nintendo still has the Game Boy library lurking in the background, so given that it won't be too long before we're down to Quest 64 and Sub-Zero Mythologies in the 64's catalog, I wouldn't be shocked to see the Game Boy added, possibly to the basic tier, but we all know that everybody's only subscribed to that to play Smash and Splatoon online, so I'm sure Nintendo would want to sweeten the pot to try to get people to upgrade. So honestly, it might be wishful thinking on my part to think the Game Boy would be in the basic tier. But I mean, hey, they could always save the Game Boy Advance games for the premium tier, so I don't know. I just like the original Game Boy, leave me alone. Personally, I was kinda hoping to get Game Boy games a lot sooner, cause I really think people sleep on this console, but better late than never, I guess. For whatever it's worth though, I really don't expect Game Boy Advance or GameCube games by March of 2024, cause I think Nintendo probably wants to keep those in the chamber, most likely for the Switch's successor, kinda like how you could only get Super Nintendo games on the new 3DS model. But yeah, I can't really think of any games that I'd feel confident in predicting by March of 2024, so I'd say that Pikmin 4, Metroid Prime Trilogy, Metroid Prime 4, Pokemon Gold and Silver remakes, Game Boy games with Advance Wars peppered in on top is a pretty decent 6th year for a console, and a pretty safe bet if I do say so myself. I mean, screw safety, right? That junk's for losers. We all like to get dangerous from time to time around here, so let's bust out the wildcard games, the games that probably won't happen, but still just might. Super Mario Odyssey 2. I mean, we all love the first game, but I feel like Nintendo barely scratched the surface with Mario's transformations, and it'd kinda be criminal not to try this concept at least one more time. Usually 3D Mario games try some kind of a unique concept before moving on to another one for the next entry, which keeps the series fresh. But as great as Mario Galaxy was, though, there was still so much potential that it just made sense to push things as far as they could go with one more game before trying something completely new. Then after Galaxy 2, 3D Mario tried something old, which was still a ton of fun, so I'm not complaining, but then before moving on to a new concept, Nintendo gave the reach the end of the stage 3D Mario idea one more go for the Wii U, just to get it out of their systems, I guess. Maybe another Mario Odyssey game with cappy mechanics is being saved for a launch title on the next console, but if not, I think it'd be a big boost for the Switch if the tank ever gets on E. If not 3D Mario though, then hey, why not another 2D Mario game? Okay, I know the below oversized end milked 2D Mario way too hard with the 4 new games in like a 2-hour time span, but like, what if Nintendo tried really hard to make an awesome 2D Mario game? You know, one with a unique art style to set it apart from the rest of the series, crazy fresh ideas, and most importantly, heart and soul. I know 2D Mario's been around since the beginning of time, but there's still plenty of potential here if you think hard enough. This is probably another one that might make more sense to just save for the next console, just to keep 2D Mario special, but even if a billion-dollar company like Nintendo took their time, they could put an amazing 3D Mario out relatively quickly, especially considering that Super Mario World only took a couple of years to make decades ago. If you think the Switch already milked Mario enough though, then another franchise that surprisingly hasn't been milked is Donkey Kong Country. Like, yeah, we got Tropical Freeze, but not only is that old, but Retro Studios could probably pump one more of these out and sell a few million copies. Personally, I kinda hope they do just so we could have a solid new trilogy, but honestly, they're probably busy as frig with Metroid Prime 4, so sadly, this is probably another one that'll have to wait till Nintendo's next console. Or, you know, if you really want a wildcard Donkey Kong Country game, though, then the Switch could always get Rare Replay, given how chummy Microsoft and Nintendo seem to be these days. Honestly, I don't know why this hasn't happened already, but with nobody buying an Xbox specifically just to play Rare Replay, then it makes sense to just release it for the Switch and sell millions of copies. I mean, it's already on Game Pass, so people are kind of playing it for free anyway, and if the Switch version had all the Nintendo-made Rare games in the bundle, then this would be a hot-ticket item for collectors, especially if GoldenEye's part of the package and all the games are actually on the cartridge, so, I mean, why not, you know? I mean, we're already at Banjo-Kazooie on the 64's online service, so this isn't really that wild of a thought, and if there's one wildcard pick that I'd have to bet my son's lunch money on coming true, then this would be it right here. While we're talking about third parties, where the hell are all those PS1 era games at? I mean, yeah, the Switch does have some of them, and I do kind of feel like a geek for begging for more ports of 20-year-old games, but where the hell are all the classic Resident Evil games with the tank controls and atrocious voice acting? I mean, I know we have the ones from the GameCube, but I want these ones.
I can't believe, what the hell is this place anyway?
Where are all the old Tomb Raider games? And come to think of it, where are the new ones while we're at it? Where's Gex? Hell, where's Metal Gear friggin' Solid? Not on my Switch, I can tell you that much. Then of course there's the neglected Nintendo IPs, the black sheeps of the company that have dedicated and passionate fan bases that Nintendo could please anytime they want, but instead choose to torture instead. New Golden Sun and Kid Icarus games are two popular candidates, but F-Zero seems to be the most in demand and, in my opinion, likely to happen at this point. Will it happen in 2023 or 4? Probably not, but I do expect it to happen not long after that, if not sooner. What I don't expect, though, is a brand new IP, just because of how late we are into the Switch's life cycle. Then again, it is kind of a perfect opportunity to build a new franchise up with over 100 million Switches out in the wild, so, you know, maybe. Then, of course, there's always Mother 3, which would be a huge hit in Japan, but in the States, Nintendo's kinda damned if they do, damned if they don't when it comes to censoring certain themes in the game. Given that the first two Earthbound games are already censored, I'm sure that's the route Nintendo's gonna choose whenever they inevitably release the third game outside of Japan. But as far as 2023 is concerned, well, I just think it's appropriate to call this one a wild card. If they do put it out, though, I will say that I think it'd make for a pretty cool compilation of the first two games just for the frig of it. Anyway, that's all for today, so let me know what you think the Switch has got in store for its 6th year, but if you got a kick out of my incoherent rambling and disturbing imagery though, then you should check out this video I made going over every single time in history where a console got cocky, but you'll excuse me though, I gotta go bail my dad out of the slammer again. Later!